Have you ever seen something unfold, maybe a small accident or just a tense moment in public, and you notice lots of people around, but, well, nobody jumps in right away?
Hmm.
Or maybe you've seen it online, like with bullying, and the comments are just silent. It's pretty common, right? No. Today we're doing a deep dive into the psychology behind that, the bystander effect. Our sources trace it back, famously, to the Kitty Genovese case in 1964. Now, the initial story there got questioned later, but it definitely kicked off some key research, yeah, by psychologist John Darley and Bibla Tanay in the late 60s. So our mission today, let's unpack why we hesitate, look at a really crucial experiment, and importantly, figure out how we can push back against this effect, in real life and online too. You might find yourself seeing crowds a bit differently after this.
Yeah, it's really key to get that the bystander effect isn't typically about people being, callous or uncaring. It's really about specific psychological forces. When you have a group, each person sort of unconsciously thinks someone else will step up.
Ah, so it's that diffusion of responsibility idea.
Exactly. Diffusion of responsibility. Everyone feels a bit less personally accountable, so often nobody does anything.
Is that like a conscious choice people make? Or more?
Uh-huh.
Subconscious?
Mostly subconscious, yeah. Think of it like a mental shortcut, and
Per-
it's closely tied to something called social influence.
Social influence.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, we often look to others, right, to figure out how seriously to take a situation, especially if it's ambiguous, if nobody else looks worried.
Then you think maybe it's not a big deal, even if you feel a bit off about it.
Precisely. That's sometimes called pluralistic ignorance. It's that weird silence where everyone's kind of waiting, looking at each other, but nobody makes the first move.
Yeah, like everyone's thinking, is this actually my business? Or am I going to look stupid if I step in?
You hit it right there. And that's layered with the fear of judgment. People hold back because they're afraid of getting it wrong or, frankly, being embarrassed.
Right, that internal monologue. What if I cause a scene and nothing's really wrong?
Exactly. It's not just about being incorrect. It's often that deep-seated thing about avoiding social awkwardness. Sometimes that fear is even stronger than how bad the situation actually looks. It's a potent mix.
And didn't Durley and Latane do an experiment that really showed this? Back in, what, 68?
They did, a truly landmark one. They had participants think they were in a group discussion, but over an intercom system for privacy.
Okay.
Then, during the discussion, one participant who was actually working with the researchers pretended to have a seizure.
Wow. And what happened?
The results were stark. If a participant thought they were the only one listening to the person in distress, 85% jumped in to help really fast.
85%? That's high.
Very high. But if they thought other people were also listening in, that number dropped drastically. Only 31% helped.
Just 31%. That's a huge difference.
It is. It powerfully showed how just the idea that others are present really waters down our individual impulse to intervene. The psychological impact is undeniable.
And you really do see this playing out. Videos of things happening in public where people just film, or online comment sections staying silent during harassment.
Yeah.
Even serious emergencies like accidents. Crowds can just freeze.
It happens across the board.
So, okay, the big question then is, what can we actually do about it? How do we fight this effect?
Well, the good news is we absolutely can counteract it. Awareness is the first step, obviously. But one really effective strategy is to be direct.
Direct how?
Assign responsibility, clearly. Instead of just shouting, someone call for help, point to a specific person. You, in the red jacket, call 911.
Ah, so you single someone out. That breaks the diffusion you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It snaps them out of that passive state. It gives one person a clear job, removes the ambiguity.
That makes sense. What if you can't easily single someone out, or the situation's still a bit fuzzy?
Good question. Another key thing is education and training. Bystander intervention programs are designed for this. They help people recognize what's happening psychologically, that hesitation, that fear, and give them tools to push past it.
So learning about the effect helps you overcome it.
It can, yes. It helps you acknowledge the discomfort, but act anyway. And then there's the broader approach, normalizing helping behavior.
Like those campaigns, if you see something, say something.
Precisely like that. The goal is to shift the social norms so stepping in feels like the expected thing to do, not something awkward or risky, making helping feel normal.
So it's not about being brave necessarily, but about making it the standard response.
In a way, yes. So wrapping up our deep dive here, what we see is the bystander effect isn't really about a lack of empathy. It's about these specific, powerful psychological forces. Diffusion of responsibility, looking to others for cues, that fear of judgment. They all combine to inhibit action when we're in a group. But understanding these mechanics, that gives you power. It lets you move from just watching to hopefully choosing to act. You know now you can assign responsibility directly. You understand the value of training, of normalizing action. And maybe connecting this to the bigger picture, it leaves us with a thought for you. How might recognizing these dynamics in your own life, whether you're, in a public square, at work, or even scrolling online, help you be the one to step up? How can you model that responsible behavior that turns a passive crowd into, well, an engaged community?